There. My name is Rudkowski from Brooklyn College, and I was wondering, looking into the last 70 years of American history, is there one individual or maybe family who is responsible for a lot of the heartaches, for a lot of the misfortune of humanity? If there's one family or individual, who would it be and why?
Wall Street. Wall Street is amoral. Capital is amoral. They will go anywhere and do anything. And the forces that drive, the dark forces we keep referring to, that would have maybe upended Wallace, I do think I'm saying what I was meant is let's have that fight. If Wallace had been there, which he should have been, and if he's going to lose, let's see it, let's have it in the light of day. But we don't have a chance with Harry Truman there, because he yields on day one to these power forces that are overwhelming. But the forces are Wall Street, and they were all around him. Peter makes a point in the book, and we do it in chapter 4, where Roosevelt always resisted the Wall Street advisory section that comes with a job, and they're always around. But they did not play a significant role. Stettinius comes on, yes, he's Secretary of State, but Roosevelt doesn't listen to him. But James Forrestal plays a huge role, a Wall Streeter, an amazing story. He's a character, another one of these Wall Street guys, but there's about 20 of them, Averell Harriman, and we point to them in the next chapter. These men come and they're always around. And with Obama too, in 2008, they took over in a certain way. They came back with this. He didn't change anything with the economic advisors. Would you say there's another candidate, Peter?
Other than Wall Street?
I'm from Wall Street.
I mean, clearly,
Bush has tried their best, but I'm from Wall Street. So.
Oliver mentioned about Obama. Look at who Obama's economic advisors are. The New York Times refers to them as a constellation of Reubenites. They were all these Robert Reuben progeny. It was Geithner, Summers, Ortzag. The people who had a more progressive view about economics, like Romer, got frozen out of the discussion. And so Obama said if he had to take one book into the White House with him, it would be Doris Kearns Goodwin's Team of Rivals. He said that was the brilliance of Lincoln, that he brought his rivals in. Well, that would have been a good idea, but Obama didn't bring the rivals. He just brought in the Wall Street people on foreign policy, brought in all the conservative hawks. I mean, he doesn't have the people who are going to be the alternative voices to offset these conservatives on economic and foreign policy.
I want to say one more thing. I'm sorry. Chapter 9, which is normally we would have put this in the World War II chapter, which you wouldn't. That would be chapter 1 and 2. But the influence of the Wall Street crowd in the in the collusion with the Nazi regime, we go back to it in chapter 9 because that's a good moment when they start in the 1990s. The neocons and the media start hawking and making a fortune off the idea of the greatest generation. We have Stephen Ambrose, we have David McCullough, we have the Private Ryan, we have this Tom Brokaw's book, we have this new discovery of the great World War II generation. Having served in Vietnam under these people, and they were my master sergeants, and they were the generals and the colonels who made these key decisions, I, of course, have a different viewpoint of their arrogance and their hubris at that time, but that was 20 years later. They did fight, they sacrificed, but we go to the darker side of World War II and the financing, and we talk about how Germany was enabled by many of these corporations who were so adamantly against communism, not only before Hitler in the Spanish Civil War, but during the Second World War. And it's quite a list. The oil companies, and we were with Louis Lapham last night, he confirmed it because he was in the Texaco family. The major corporations are definitely pulling for Hitler, and some of them working all the way up until 44. And some of them repatriate their profits, whereas some people who are really patriots lose everything in the war, but some of these corporations, they get back the money that's stored at the IBS Bank, International Bank of Settlements in Switzerland, where Alan Dulles and John Foster Dulles plays a role.
And I'm in the middle of reading David Nassau's book on Joe Kennedy, the Patriarch, which is filled with information for you to foster your thesis.
Just one other quick point that I think we forget. There was a lot of profit to be made by defense companies in the Cold War in America. Defense companies pushed the need for rearmament and frightening Congress. There's a very good book by Bill Harding, who is going to come on Lockheed Martin. It's very clear how much profit was made in the Cold War and pushing the American paranoia.
And he's underage, he's a minor.
I would suggest that you should have a far more responsible father if they're truly concerned about the well-being of their children.
I talked to Michael Moore and I was like, where do you stand on ending the private Federal Reserve banking system? And he was like,
capitalism, that's the problem. Capitalism. Capitalism has to go.
Well, the Federal Reserve is doing a good job of that, so I guess he's a big fan.